Hey, everybody, welcome to Agency Side Podcast, where we dive into the minds of creative agency owners and explore the stories behind their success. Today, we have a special guest, Andy Freedman, who has been the CEO and founder of Substance Global for past 20 years. Proudly independent, Substance is a multidisciplinary strategic communications and creative agency that helps companies and brands across various industries deliver best-in-class digital content. Andy lives in Thousand Oaks, California, with his wife, 4 children, and 2 brand new Jack Russell Terriers. Holy cow. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Thanks so much, Justin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, that's a full house right there.
A lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah,
A lot of mouths.
I got 2 kids and a cat. I can't compete with 4 and two brand new Jack Russell Terriers.
It's all relative though, right, Justin?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I like a full house. It's always a big family, so I definitely got what I wanted.
Me as well. Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here today.
Sure.
I guess I want to kick off the show by just asking you how you got involved in how you got to be in the creative agency space. How'd you get here?
Yeah, quite randomly. I mean, I did touch on marketing in my college career, and I also studied scriptwriting and film. And that was really my first love and where I wanted to work after I graduated. And I did for a while. I worked at Panavision and learned all about camera crews and how they set up for movies and the equipment they need and how all of that works on set. It's really really instructive and evolving. And from there, I kind of found a natural pathway into production. So I spent the first couple of years out of college doing kind of short production, commercials production, some small low budget feature stuff. And that was a hard graft. Not gonna lie. And my entryway into being in a creative agency, because it definitely was not on the roadmap, not that I had one. I was called by a friend from college who just like working at an agency that was doing music promotion on the internet. The Steve Fenton thing that just started rearing its head in the late 90s, and he was doing quite well, doing kind of Muse and the Prodigy and all of these great acts. And he said that his company wanted to start up in the film space, and did they know anyone who might want to come and help set that up? And so he thought of me. Having had only very little experience on the production side and none on the kind of promotion marketing side. I just went for it, and just from there we built out one of the first kind of pure play film distribution kind of marketing agencies, concentrating on trailer distribution, doing kind of replicating offline PR activations in the new digital space. So that was really how it started.
That's interesting. That's cool that it came through sort of like the music channel as well. Where did you sort of pivot to next after that? What was your next agency experience that you had after that?
Yeah, my next agency experience was interesting. I moved to a bigger agency at the Fire, called Beadwax, run by my friend Chris Ward. Fantastic agency. Was very well known in London and the UK for youth marketing, youth brand marketing, that kind of thing, reaching that audience. And they worked across kind of music, film, consumer products, that kind of thing. But when I got there, there was a lot of people there who didn't know quite what was going on, and it turned out, as these things do, that the company had recently been acquired by a holding company, and that holding company had acquired several other agencies as well to kind of merge into a roll-up. And it was kind of Game of Thrones, really, before Game of Thrones was a thing. So everyone was kind of like looking over their shoulder and kind of trying to grab a bit of the fiefdom. And, I was only there for a short time. And it wasn't for me, that kind of atmosphere. The previous agency I was at had a much more entrepreneurial spirit, kind of everyone pulling in the same direction. And then we got to this agency where it was just times out. Which I didn't really want to be a part of long term. So I, along with another chap who I befriended at the agency, who was a freelancer at the time, he wasn't a full-time employee at the agency. He was looking to go out on his own. We got chatting, and I thought, you know what, I could go and do that as well. Why don't we go and do that? That was literally the kind of genesis of going to start Substance properly.
Wow.
We can do better than this. And we could do it without all of this background noise. And actually, it wasn't even background noise; it was like, noise in the main arena
Yeah.
every day. And so I called a couple of clients. Told them what I was doing. I said, "Will you come with me?" They said, "Sure." I said, "That's good enough for me."
That's
Uh,
amazing.
I went out and bought my own laptop and started it in the back room,
Wow.
and went from there. Yeah, and I only really had like one or two clients at the time, but one of those clients was 20th Century Fox at the time, big legacy Hollywood studio, and they put the faith in me, which is fantastic.
That's amazing. So
Yeah, it's lovely to do that.
it probably took a little bit of the anxiety out knowing that you had this relationship and that you weren't starting from nowhere basically. I mean you had a reputation, you had clients that were going with you. So it
Sure, but it was based on very
was loose.
unsteady foundation, shall we say. There was,
Yeah.
it was going to be, you're only going to be as good as your next job. And, to all
Hmm.
intents and purposes, it's not a company until you have, like, a bit of structure and a few employees and you've got, some mode of operation. What we were doing is essentially kind of contract work.
Yeah.
But, we believed in it from the beginning and we went into it and we slowly started to pick up more independent clients at the time. There's only a few of us working there, so we didn't need huge budget uh, campaigns. We very much kind of played in the independent space with kind of one major supply the bigger targets.
Yeah. Were you still pretty nervous a little bit, like going out on your own? Like at that point in your life, did it sort of feel like, or were you sort of like that, just ready to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I always say this to people who ask me about starting a business. I always say starting is the easy thing. Like just saying you're going to do it, you know, that's the easy part. The hard part is then what comes next. How do you, build your experience? How do you build your client base? How do you build your company? How do you find talent? How do you keep the
Yep,
lights up?
totally.
And that's the hard part. Saying yes is the easy part. If you fail, you can always go back and do something else. When you're in your mid-20s, that's the time to, in my opinion, time to try.
Totally.
And that's how I
Yeah.
did
So you,
it. So
you,
yeah.
you have a business partner? Is there somebody that sort of works with you? Is that still the case, or how's
I've
that
had a
working?
complicated relationship with my partners in the past. And my first partner, who I actually started the business with, he left very, very early on after realizing that he was about to lose all of his clients. And he was going to be relying on me to fill the gap. So that was not the intention when we first started, obviously. And so that didn't last very long. He was bought out by our first employee who shouldering in this, but we worked together then for a good number of years on the company. He more of the technical developer side, he more of the PR promotion side, and we kind of built up from there our capabilities. And this is 2003, 2004, so YouTube is just about to be a thing.
Yeah.
Facebook has just started. MySpace was there, and we were in the forefront of that social media kind of explosion. So, it was definitely an interesting time. Lots of trial and error, lots of clients wanting to try new things, and it was good and exciting.
Cool. Yeah, I was just curious to see, like, in terms of like a partnership or in terms of leadership structure, creative agency. Do you find that it's good to have one person that sort of is like you said more technical, and then maybe one person that's more like PR? Is there any sort of
Uh, I think depends on what we're doing, right, Justin? I
yeah,
think, we're a multidisciplinary agency and that can be a great thing. It can be also be a really challenging thing. Not everyone's going to want to buy everything all the time.
yeah,
But when you can kind of unload with all of your best assets, then, you can do some pretty good stuff.
yeah.
Um, but I have a chap called Colin Swift, who's one of my very good friends. He's been with me nearly the whole 19 years. He's the managing director in the London office. I'm based out in Los Angeles. And, we do have a strong management team. We have, financial director, an operations director, a creative services director, and those combine to help build out, the sharp end of the business to management. And it does always help to have kind of universal skills. I mean, we don't really do much development or build anymore. That ship sailed a long time ago for us. You know, um, so when the market shifted in terms of what our clients are buying from us, we don't necessarily do that anymore. So it's not necessarily having a technical and or a developing background. Depends what you're producing. What we produce now is mainly strategic content, whether that's social, digital, out of home, whatever it is, and that's our kind of bread.
Yeah. Do you have any particular campaigns that you are, that stand out to you as very exciting, or that you're most proud of?
Sure. I mean, in the past, we've worked on everything from Avatar to the Simpsons movie. Uh, the first film that I did as Substance, with Fox was The Day After Tomorrow, which is like a cheesy disaster movie that everyone kind of
Yeah.
knows, but
Yep.
that launched my agency. So, like, I'm very proud and fond of that film,
Yeah.
and kind of return to it every now and again. And then on the other areas of our business that are non-film or non-entertainment, very proud of some of the work we've done with Amgen, particularly on a drug called Lumigrass, which is a novel drug that helps patients with non-small cell lung cancer, and that was a phenomenal kind of multi-year effort, and was rewarded with a PR Week award, which is fun. So yeah, those are two that definitely stand out for me.
Yeah, it's interesting that you guys sort of have a bit of, like, have the pharma, you also have entertainment. That's an interesting, like, diverse set of clients, which seems like it's unlike a lot of other agencies that I've have been in touch with over the years. How does that sort of come about that you sort of work in such diverse ways there?
Well, that's a great question, and the answer is very random. But it all comes down to referrals, which for small agencies, that's the lifeblood, right? The work you do, how it's received. Do those people then have other contacts, or when they leave, you go to another company? Do they take with you? And it was an interesting time where we were a pure play entertainment agency. Our core client base was entertainment, film, streaming, gaming, um, and home entertainment, that kind of thing. A little bit consumer products, like Casper, a little bit, things like that. Our biggest client in 2019 or 2018 was 20th Century Fox, and they were about to be bought by Naps, so Disney. And so, we saw a future whereby one of our biggest clients was about to be consumed. We knew that would mean, curtains for a lot of business that we had been doing with Fox, because we understood what was happening. There had been a blank catalogue. The studio itself was not really uh, much of a function, and that the work that we were doing, which was very, very involved with the international markets, like connecting the dots between home office in the US and all of the international markets around the world, that was going to go away. At the same time, very randomly, someone from Fox reached out to me and said, "I've got a friend who's looking for an agency in this in the healthcare space. And I know you guys don't know anything about that, or you don't do anything like that, but you do know how to build an audience on social, and that's what they're looking for. And they actually want to work with a company that isn't pharma specific, that isn't healthcare specific, that can bring a new viewpoint on kind of what they're doing in the social space." And so we went to meet with them. It turned out that the company was Amgen, which was based in the city that I live in, Thousand Oaks, just outside of LA. And so it's very random in that respect, because it is one of the biggest employers of my local town. We went in there and we chatted about what they needed. We came back to them with a pilot proposal, which they loved. We executed on that, and 4 or 5 years later, we now do pretty much all of their strategic social media across
Wow.
their therapeutic areas, both in the US and globally. We work for their foundation, the Amgen Foundation, which is a non-profit. We work across their business in many different ways, and we pretty much touch on every muscle of the agency. So from creative, strategy, monitoring, insights, data, reporting, all of that good stuff. We do that on a daily basis for that client, and it's been one of the main reasons why in the last 4 years, it's for pretty much 2019, we've been able to double the revenue of the agency.
That's wonderful. That's really cool. And it's very cool that like your experience in entertainment and all that stuff really shined a new light maybe and sort of, kind of segued right into that new part of your business, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, so I guess the other question I was going to ask you, um, like what is your sort of role look like in the agency at this point? Because I know as you start to scale and grow and you have all these different clients that I'm sure your role has changed a lot from the beginning. What does that kind of look like now for you on day to day?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, I'm still really involved with the business on a day-to-day because I am the one who kind of helped to build out the healthcare practice in the agency. So first of all, I had a mighty job to kind of convince everybody that this was a good thing for us to do. People working on cool stuff like you know uh, gaming and films, and then they're suddenly faced with oncology, cancer, and stuff that's actually pretty heavy.
Yeah,
And I think that was a real challenge, but it was also an opportunity, right? Because here, how often does an agency who's very, very known for one thing or one industry break out and diversify into another industry? It's always the thing that you want to do as an agency owner. Oh, I'd love to work on that brand. I'd love to work with this product, but it's not as simple as that. And so, like for me, this was our opportunity to really show our skills in a new light. And so it was about impressing upon everybody to be. I became kind of the de facto cheerleader for it, and built out the practice really. At the same time, very very on a personal level, my youngest daughter, pretty much I think 2 months after we first started working with Amgen, was diagnosed with leukemia,
nice.
and it kind of all like professional and like personal worlds, crashing together. But for
Yeah,
me, it kind of just one of those signs that you're in the right place. This is the right thing to be doing. It turned out actually that they actually produced a drug for my daughter's condition. Thankfully, my daughter didn't need it, and she is now off treatment. You'd be pleased to know. But it just gave you that sense of this is the right thing to do. But yeah, obviously people are going to react quite viscerally to that. Everyone's got a family member affected by a disease, whether it's cancer or heart disease or something like that. So I had to take everyone's reactions and feelings into consideration. But I think by and large, everyone's really like a couple of years down the line, everyone looks back and look how much we've learned in a whole new industry, challenging industry at that. Healthcare is highly regulated,
yep,
highly technical. We've managed to bring in some of our good stuff, and we've taken out a lot of learnings and a lot of growth from kind of what we've learned from our clients and from our partners who work on those businesses as well. So it's really helped embolden the agency to feel like they could go and do anything now. They could go and do any industry. If you can kind of tackle healthcare or tackle pharma, then you can go and do any other industry. There's no limit to what you can do. So in terms of a proving ground, it was fantastic.
yeah. How
And
do
so
you? Oh, sorry. How do you guys go at this point? I mean, you have a core of clients and things are humming. Still actively look for new clients? Do you still kind of and
100%.
how does that sort of how do you go about finding new clients? Is it through like referrals or like you're just talking about before, or do you guys do cold outreach, or what sort of like business development look like on your end?
We feel that everything, Justin. Obviously, referrals are key. They've always been key to the business. And they're very welcome. And the work you do is the latest work you've done is your best is your best ad for what you can do. Um, we have a business team. We have like our heads of different verticals who are very biz dev focused. But we like to say that everyone is on sales, right? Whether that's you just a designer posting about, a cool spot they did, or, the fact that our team were at a trailer box for Gladiator 2 the other day, like, just even posting about our social is a form of new biz in itself. And so everyone kind of gets involved in new biz. We've done various things in the past, like, pay to play at certain events, especially in the pharma world when we're just trying to make a name for ourselves. And that's a very slow burn. So it's like, you invest in that and you want to see some return on that, but the return is very, very slow.
Yeah.
Right? Pharma is a very slow moving industry, unlike film. Right? It's much more planned. It's much more kind of considered in a lot of the things that it does, especially from communications and marketing standpoint. So, that business development is ongoing, but we have started to kind of spread out and build a number of pharmaceutical clients. And then on the entertainment side, it's the same thing. We're constantly still going out to people we know, or I jump to people we know to try and keep the home fires burning, because people leave, people move from companies, right? Your new teams come in all the time. New structures are in place all the time. What was done one year might not be the same the next year. So you're constantly kind of reevaluating your approach to those kinds of people as well. And obviously it's been a tough time in the last 2-3 years in film and entertainment. With first of all the fallout from COVID, then the strikes, and then the streaming wars as well. So it's been
Totally.
it's been a bit of a minefield. But I guess it speaks to having diversity of client base to help you through those times. Is very important.
Do you have any sort of a crystal ball on if you think it's going, if the scale is sort of leveling out there? Are you optimistic? Are you, what's your temperature on that?
Well, I'll always be optimistic, but realistic. There's definitely, we've obviously seen the numbers of Hollywood in terms of product output from Hollywood studios and the streamers, and there's definitely an era of let's bring it back down and see what we've got and then go again. So we're hopeful that next year there's going to be a little bit more of an upswing in terms of what's available to work on, because this year has been pretty tough in terms of gaming, in terms of film. There's been obviously a lot of layoffs and strife across those two industries. It's well known. But we try and stay on top of it and try and understand the signals, not only from what we read and what we see, but people who we talk to and their kind of confidence levels on kind of how they think things are gonna be in the next 6 months or the short term.
Yeah. Does it affect, does it make staffing challenging for you at all? Because I guess it can be hot or cold. What are some of the challenges that you have with staffing? Is there any particular things that can be troublesome at times?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You have to be aware of the people you've got, the skill sets you have, and what clients are buying, and things that you have built up internally sometimes don't equate to what clients are buying anymore. It happened to us with development teams in the past. And we've definitely had to keep an eye on that. And it is the most challenging, as well as hiring. Like right sizing the business is also a massive challenge. We're a small company. We're only 80 people. Say only, it sounds like a lot, but in terms of bigger agencies and bigger companies, we're pretty small, and so but we're also very interconnected. Like a lot of our services are interconnected, so it's not as simple as just saying, "Oh, they do claim me back anymore, so we won't be this person." There's a lot of connective tissue that connects our departments and the people who do what they do. So we have to be very kind of careful, considerate of that. The flip side of that is you can be a little inertia to it, right? It can kind of be, oh, just wait and see because that's going to happen. Or this happens, they might need that. So you're kind of trying to hedge your bets in terms of what's going to be bought really from you as an agency. And the way that the industry is operating at the moment is everything's very, very late. Release is very, very late. Turnaround time is very, very quick. And budgets are down. So it's like those three things combined to kind of leave you with a really challenging picture to predict. Because that's always what you're doing, right? As an owner, you're trying to predict the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months and see
Totally.
what the flow is going to be. And we know that, especially in film, there's a time lag between events and the impact on the industry. So the
Totally.
strike's obviously finished, but the studios down tools during those strikes, they cut back on what they were going to actually release, as well as there being an impact on the actual number of things being made. We're seeing that now.
Totally.
And so 2024 has kind of been kicked in the butt by what happens in 23.
Yeah, definitely. How has technology been sort of changing your business? Have you guys, I guess I'm a little bit of a bit of a tech nerd at way. Obviously my background is in, I love music. I always have my guitars here in the back. I'm also fascinated by different automation tools and machine learning, all that stuff. I just find fascinating. I know, all industries are changing because of it. What sort of tools are you finding that have been successful at Substance Global?
Well, I mean, we've been with everybody else in the sandbox, the creative agency, see what AI can do in terms of image, in terms of audio, in terms of text. We find it helps us on the research side of things quite considerably, obviously. And in terms of storyboarding or visualizing stuff, trying to get a quick viz to explain what we need for a client so they can kind of get the picture. That is, that's great for an agency like us. You don't have to necessarily use resource internally to kind of do those things to keep these moving along. Plus also it's the vanguard of this new age, right? So it's like trying to figure out what does what and what works and what is kind of commercially reliable, I guess, from the AI perspective. And internally as well, we build our own tools as well if we see that they can facilitate some efficiency. So right now we're building an internal tool that is going to take. We do a lot of reporting for our clients, a lot of reporting in terms of performance, but also in terms of insights and social listening and things like that. So we've automated a lot of the functions that will enable us to kind of pull all of our data from multiple sources in one fell swoop and also then populate a deck. So, the hours that it took to kind of download and pass the data and review the data is basically completely cut. And then the actual development of a deck and the output is something that we can start to semi-automate as well. So we've been doing that at the moment, and that's going to save like 10 days.
Wow,
from someone's workflow.
That's amazing. And so you guys are like, are you partnering with developers? Do you doing it yourself?
We've got an internal data insights team that includes data scientists who are doing that thing.
That's really cool. Really cool. You're kind of a different subject, but you're involved in music a little bit too, right? I think I remember the first time. I've known you for a bit over the years.
Yeah.
And I know, obviously, I'm always on LinkedIn. That's sort of my kind of like, my wife calls me Abraham LinkedIn. We're into puns because I'm always looking. I'm like there in my bed just looking at it. She's like, "Are you on LinkedIn again?" I'm like, "Oh, possibly the least cool social media to be on all the time." But in
healthcare and pharmaceuticals, it's the coolest.
I know. It's like, for me, it was like I ended up actually like once I quit Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I didn't quit them, but I realized that there was definitely I was going to have a time suck into LinkedIn. At least, there was going to be some sort of a potential financial gain for me to be had there. Also, maybe a little bit less, divisive and maybe more informative in certain ways. So I don't diss LinkedIn. I really really appreciate it. But she calls me Abraham LinkedIn. I probably should look at my phone a little bit less. But, yeah, I know. I had checked on your page. I had seen that you were involved in music, or you had a record label. Obviously, we talked a little bit about some of your background in music before.
Sure.
But I think that was one of the things that sort of like, I thought to myself, I'm like, I bet this guy is pretty cool, because you have, you're just not a guy in a suit, and you have this, it's just a very like cool, like humanizing thing on LinkedIn when you see that people are involved in the arts and record,
Right.
your own record label. So, what is your connection to music with all
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I've always loved music, played music all my life, and been a fan and a consumer of music, both like obviously on record or digital, but also going to shows. Going to shows is one of the things I love to do the most. It's one of the things I can do the least now. I have 4 children and 2 dogs, but that for me is my happy place, right? Is at a festival or a gig, like listening to a band I love, connecting with that, and having that communal experience with people, and that's pretty much probably why everyone loves it,
Yeah.
and that's how it should be. In terms of the record label, so the record label was called Super Pop. It was hatched by a friend of mine, Chris, who is an entrepreneur and has had various challenges in the music industry, and very interesting guy. And one day he called me up. He's like, Andy, I know we haven't spoken for a while, but I'm in LA with my friend Michael, who's a producer, a very successful producer. And we've been producing these guys basically out of Seattle, out of the island, and we think they've got something. And so we got them down here to Sunset Sound of all places. I've got one of their famous studios in LA, and they got a full band for these guys. And these guys are like a singer-songwriter, and his brother who played kind of drums. They both rap, and they produced these tracks that were just phenomenal. Like, they were really, really good folk soul, kind of Bruno Mars-y, kind of that Anderson Paak vibe. Very, very light, very, very sappy, and just fantastic. And it's like, that's great. And he's like, do you want to come on board and help promote? I think sure. Sounds fun. It's like there'll be no money. It'll be a passion project, and so yeah, we started to do that. We released 4 singles very, very quickly. We got a little bit of buzz, but it's the hardest. That is the hardest thing in the world to do right now, is to release music and to kind of get it to stick and to kind of get people to know who your artist is. There's a lot of hard yards, a lot of graft that needs to go into it. So we released the songs as a bit of a pump because we did, and then the opportunity was there to make the music, and so we just got it out there. But we're still developing that artist, and we developed another artist in Brazil called Cami. And so it's a very slow burn, but it's something that keeps me involved in another creative area that I love. And it's not financially motivated. It's more about, can we kind of can we kind of make it? Can we make it happen? Can we help support an artist on their journey? And yeah, that's kind of the crux of it. But it's been a fun ride for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, I think we all need like something else outside of just running our agencies to sort of,
Right.
just like a hobby. It's something you enjoy doing that doesn't have it doesn't need to make money to enjoy it and to feel rewarded. One thing I do as sort of like a hobby is I actually teach some music to some kids.
Sure.
I started out because I have kids in the neighborhood, and then some other kids like, hey, your dad plays. He's a songwriter. He plays music. Will he teach me how to play? So I taught one kid, and the other kid tells the other neighbor. And before you know it, I've got every kid on my block is banging on my door looking for piano and guitar lessons.
Referrals, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's really been interesting because it's like, especially since COVID, and we're all, we are a very like everything's just done on Zoom and Loom videos, and like all these things are so I'm not always connected. The people that work for me, they live in other states, and so sometimes it can be a bit of a lonely thing. And sometimes these kids come in and they're like, they're just really goofy and they say the weirdest things. And it's like, I feel like I'm like part of something like human.
Yeah.
And they don't, I'm not charging an arm and a leg for to teach kids some chords on the piano.
Sure.
So it's in the passion project kind of thing. And, so I can kind of understand, I understand that.
Yeah, that gave me a huge like extra lease when I started doing it. It got my enthusiasm for everything went up like 3 or 4 notches. Because it was at the time that the COVID was very, very heavily kind of in our lives, and everyone was feeling depressed, disembodied. Like you say, like not with anybody.
Yeah.
this section. So it was definitely for me a way to kind of feel connected to something new and some creativity, which is always inspiring to me. Um, and obviously that's the fun part, but then the hard again. So like I said earlier, right? The easy thing is getting it started.
Totally.
Actually, yes is what you need, right? You just need to say yes, and
Yeah.
then
I mean,
the hard
I
part
could
is
make
then
a whole
developing.
podcast on music business and then how and the
Of course you
that
can.
could be a whole separate one that's
Yeah.
a can of worms. But yes, starting it is yeah. I totally hear you. I guess the last question I'll have for you here,
Mm.
and again, thanks so much for doing this and chatting.
Been my
It's been
pleasure.
really been fun. But I guess I imagine that a lot of our listeners are going to be. I guess it's kind of a double-sided question. A lot of
Mm.
our listeners, I think, are going to be a lot of people that I believe are going to be interested in starting their own agency. Maybe they're top performers in their current companies. They're wondering, should I do what Andy did and just make a jump for it and start it? They might be a little hesitant and kind of just like, I'm going to wait out the storm. And, and I think that's a big part of our listeners. Also, just people
Mm.
that work in agencies that are kind of just like, I wonder what the people that are running the agencies are thinking, and kind of want to know their vibes and their strategies and how they're seeing things going. What would your advice be for, I guess somebody that is, I guess who is looking to start an agency right now? Would you say it's a good time to do it? And how do you feel about that?
No, I mean it's never going to be a good time. The good
Yeah.
time to do it is when you're ready to do it. Like
Yeah.
if you feel ready to do it, take it on. There's always going to be external factors that you cannot control, whether that's interest rates, whether that's the way that a certain market is performing. If there are layoffs in certain industries that are really really crushing it, that's if that was the place you wanted to go into. There will always be opportunity though. It doesn't matter what time it is, like whether it is a time of a pandemic. We saw that there was other opportunities that came to the fore, and now that the things have changed a little bit, there are other opportunities come back. So there will always be challenges. You're never going to have like the orange all the time. I mean, I was lucky in that I came into kind of doing what I do at the very start of when people were doing that as a business, like actually, being able to make money from utilizing this technology to kind of add value to companies. 20 years later, obviously, it's a very saturated, competitive place. But the AI, even the AI take over the metaverse takeover that we've been promised for so long that obviously we've seen since 2005 or whatever. Anyway, these things, technology will always bring along a new wave of the possibilities or ways to get involved and turn that into a business. Um, and so the platforms have kind of come and gone in our lifetime as a business, right? And they've changed and they've evolved, they've been bought and sold, and there'll always be something happening. It's an ongoing story. So you just have to, if you want to get into that and you have a passion and you feel all you really need is the energy to do it, right?
Yeah. And how can people that are looking to get into the agency world, how can, as an employee, like somebody that might want to work for Substance Global at
Mm.
some point, how do they, advice for them in terms of how they can show their skills or any advice on that front?
Yeah, just show. I mean, look, we're in we've got content platforms all over the place now, and that's what everyone's attention is diverted to. So that's the place you need to be to show your skills, whether you're a motion designer or a presenter or an editor, in those kind of things. So always be kind of pushing yourself out there in terms of your work, making sure that it's updated. No one likes to see like a show from 2015 and it's 2024, but it happens. It's like, well, what have you done in the last 9 years? So kind of, always be thinking about like if you're going for a job somewhere and be attuned to what it is that they do. Like, come prepared, do your homework. You know, but for starting yourself, I feel like it obviously it is a big deal. I don't want to downplay that. It is a big thing to say I'm not gonna you know, I would take a regular job type job and do it myself. Um, but it's doable, it's doable if you start small and you have a goal and you have to focus and you obviously have the skill sets to produce, then that's what you need really. Then the fun starts, you grow and you get another job. Oh, I need some more people to do this. Where do we do it? Oh, I need an office. Then all the fun stuff starts. But you know, if you want to do it and you've got a desire to do it, then you should test yourself. I didn't have necessarily a desire to do it. Mine was much more circumstantial. Mine was much more of a lost idea because this place is crazy. This guy said something quite interesting. I know myself what I can achieve. I'm gonna take the job. And crucially, I didn't ask anybody else for their permission to do it. I just did it. And a million people would have had a really different answers, right? Oh, you shouldn't do that. It's crazy. You'll be exposed. Blah blah blah. Where you can get money from? It's always going to be a naysayer. Someone who can tell you that you can't do it. So just don't ask for permission. Like, obviously, you need to ask for permission, and there's financial facts in it. Ask for permission. Like, if you're in your mid-20s and you're kind of you're flying solo, or you don't have that many responsibilities and roles in your life, then why not?
I love it. Awesome, Andy. Well, thank you so much again for your time today.
Yeah, of course.
Love hearing your story, how you got into this, and there's lots of nuggets in here that I know our listeners will love to hear. So thanks again, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess.
All right, Andy. Be well, man.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
Bye.